Hey, what's up, Positively Atheist? It's been a while since I've done a video. Sorry about that. Um, yeah, basically, I want to make this video about the one thing I wish I would have. I wish I could, if I could go back in time, the one thing I would change about um, how I left religion and the whole process that happened in that whole process. And hopefully, for those of you who are coming out of your religious belief systems, this would be insightful for you to help you kind of like think about how you are going through the process. You know, I just walked out of a convenience store and the clerk was talking to somebody else about religion. She's a Muslim, he's a Christian. They were having this really intense conversation. And, you know, I remember when I first left my faith, I felt like this stuff was happening everywhere, and I felt like everybody was like looking at me like in a bad way, right? And let's face facts, a lot of religious people do discriminate against atheists, okay? But I was seeing this everywhere. Like, and you know, I just left that conversation. I realized, man, I haven't seen a conversation like that in a long time. Or been around a conversation in a long time. It's become so foreign to me now, and it's surprising how foreign it has become. You know, and I don't really even think about it much anymore, and that's kind of why I haven't really been doing a lot of videos. Yeah. So the reason I share that is because it kind of inspires me for the things I would change or I would do differently looking back. And that is first and foremost, I wouldn't make such a big deal about anything. Okay, I mean, just went about my life, you know, and just, you know, not really made any waves, you know, like. And it's crazy because, like, when you first find out about something, or you're
head east, then turn right.
I'm not moving anywhere. When you first find out about something, or you change your thoughts about something, you tend to talk about it a lot. You tend to see it around you everywhere. You know, it's like if you've ever gotten a new car and you haven't seen those vehicles anywhere, all of a sudden you start seeing those vehicles everywhere. Well, I think the same thing can happen too when you come out of your faith. You can feel like you are being attacked from all different directions. You can feel that you are ostracized and nobody understands you. And you can kind of build that narrative into your brain. And so then everything you see around you then is that. And I think sometimes, because of the trauma we've gone through, because of our religious experiences and the mental damage that was caused to us by our religious experiences, you know, the process of forcing people to think something is bad that is actually perfectly natural, as an example. So the gaslighting of our whole lives and that damage that's caused, you know, you can feel like a lot of emotions in that experience: anger, frustration, bitterness, all these types of things. And so those negative emotions can be basically something that you recycle, that you put those negative emotions out, they come back into you in a cyclical type approach when it comes to how you interact with the world. If you ever get a chance, read the book As a Man Thinketh. It's a very interesting book on how our thinking directly correlates to how our lives become. And you know, so I would avoid the temptation to feel like everybody's looking at you, because the truth is they're not. You don't have to make a big deal. You don't have to just live your life. Enjoy your life, right? Just enjoy it. Just enjoy your life. I burned a lot of bridges and messed up a lot of relationships on my way out of my religion. Not intentionally, but it was part of that, being somebody who was frustrated and hurt, lashing out in different ways, different behavior patterns. It's kind of like, if you're like a kid and you've been told or as you're growing up, like your parents never let you do anything, then as soon as you get out of the house, you just go wild, right? Definitely relate to that, and sadly, a lot of the darker angels took more control over the lighter angels in that process. Sometimes, it's like, this is the reason why I say, if I could go back and change how I deconvert in that process, is I would take everything a lot less serious. Had a little more fun. You're free now. Not that you know all the answers, but you realize how little you do know, right? So I would have a little more fun, take things a little less serious. And then, I would also, how do I put this? Stop being so cynical. Okay? There's this concept of nihilism, this concept that nothing matters. And when you deconvert, you go through this experience where you, for the first time, feel like nothing matters. Because your whole life you were told everything matters based upon an external force, this force that's God, right? And if God's not there, then nothing in this life matters. That's what we're told, right? As a certainty. Well, the thing is, that's not actually necessarily true. Okay? So it may be possible that things matter in different ways than what we can comprehend, right? So we're told that, well, without God, nothing matters. And when we are faced with the idea that there may not be a God, then we have to ask ourselves, well, what really matters anyways? We can get this, so nihilism has this idea that, nihilism brings with it this certainty of nothingness, this certainty of no God, essentially, this certainty of no purpose, right? And nihilism seeks to basically tell you, no, there is no purpose. Nihilism wants to tell you there is no heaven, there's no hell. This nihilistic idea that there is no meaning, no purpose. I'm sorry. Those are just, if somebody makes a claim that there is no meaning, no purpose, if somebody makes a claim there is no God, if somebody makes a claim that there is no heaven, no hell, there is no cell. So if someone wants to make those claims with conviction and be reasonable and rational in the process, then they have to demonstrate the reasoning. They have to demonstrate how they can make that positive assertion. And I'm sorry, you can't make a positive assertion about that which is not able to be tested by scientific method. The scientific method is a study of natural phenomenon. So you cannot take the study of natural phenomenon and use it to study the unnatural phenomenons or supernatural phenomenons, right? So science has nothing to say about the supernatural. And if somebody wants to tell you there is no heaven, there's no hell, there's no God, and you have to ask them, well, how do you know that? And they're going to say, well, I use a process, a scientific process. Sorry, scientific processes do not apply to supernatural phenomena. So this is why I say the person who comes to the, it's easy for us to fall in this trap that when we question whether there's a God, it's easy for us to fall in the trap that that's also us saying there is no God. But it's actually not. Questioning the existence of something is not the same thing as saying that thing does not exist. Okay, those are two different processes. You can question whether something exists, but at the same time not claim that thing does not exist. Let me give you an example. Santa Claus. I do not believe Santa Claus exists, at least in the as told in the fiction, in the story of him flying, from house to house on a sled in one night. I don't believe that version of Santa Claus exists, right? But I'm also not saying I know with 100% certainty. I mean, I don't know anything with 100% certainty, right? Then we can get into discussions of solipsism, all this stuff. But let's stay away from that for a moment, and let's just say this idea, when we're confronted with this idea that there may not be a God, our brains automatically go, okay, so we don't believe in a God, there's no God. But the truth is, none of us really know what may or may not exist outside of this reality. In this natural world, we understand it using the scientific method, but there is no method that can be used to ascertain the realities of a non-reality. Science has nothing to say about supernatural things, so thereby, what I would change about my past is I would remind myself that the negation of X is not the same thing, or the non-acceptance of X is not the same thing as the negation of X. Let me see if I'm going to try to explain it another way. Okay. So imagine you go to a carnival, and in the carnival they have a bucket on a table, and that bucket's got a bunch of marbles in it. And it has a sign that says, if you can guess the correct number of marbles in that jar, then you'll win a prize. Okay. So you have different people with different perspectives. They have different beliefs about how many marbles are in that jar. Okay. And some of them have claimed they have certain knowledge. Maybe they've got a mathematical formula or calculation that they've drawn up. They have certain knowledge that is the number. That's what they claim. They claim, I believe, you have some people say, oh, I believe there's 55 marbles in there, and I believe that because I have certain knowledge, which was this mathematical formula. Okay, that is a person who is equivalent to this is a theistic Gnostic. Someone who believes, in our case, believes in a God or doesn't believe in a God. Gnostic meaning with knowledge. So what I'm trying to say here is that I would go back and remind myself that not believing in something is not the same thing as saying it doesn't exist. Here's why this is important. Because in life, you're going to be confronted with realities that just you want it, you need it to make sense. And the thing is that none of us really know the true nature of reality. We can claim we do, we can pretend like we have knowledge, but none of us truly know the nature of reality. And there's actually I can't remember what the saying was, but it's something similar to that, like, We're only going to be able to have our perception of reality. It's always going to be limited by our perception. So none of us truly know the true nature of reality. So as far as we know, guys, and I'm going to say something that's going to be kind of shocking to people who hear me as an atheist say this, but I'm going to say something that may shock some people. I'm going to say, look, I don't know what the true nature of reality is. It could, for all we know, it could be magic. And by the way, I actually think that would be awesome. I think that if the base reality was magic, that would be really cool. But none of us know this information. Because you cannot know information about a supernatural reality. See, knowledge only applies to that which can be known, which is the natural world. Knowledge does not apply to the supernatural world. You can't have knowledge of something that is unknowable. By definition, supernaturalism exists outside of this space and bubble we call naturalism. So in naturalism, we have a set of rules that function, and because there are a set of rules, there could be knowledge about those rules. But if we are talking about something that's supernatural, there can be no knowledge of the supernatural world. So this is why I say, anyone who tells you there is no heaven, there is no hell, there is no God, anybody who tells you there is no hope, there is no afterlife, there's no soul, there's no all this, anybody who tells you that is just as much a charlatan as the person who stands up on Sunday mornings and preaches that there is a God, that there is a heaven, that there is a hell, and all this other kind of stuff. Both of those people are liars. Because you cannot have knowledge about that which cannot be known. Supernaturalism cannot be known. You can't have knowledge of supernaturalism by definition. It's unknowable, it's unknowledgeable, it's unrational. Because here's the thing, you may say, well, no, that's not true. Supernaturalism in heaven, it's all rational. Okay? Well, when it becomes rational, when it becomes knowable, then it becomes, here's the key, then it becomes natural. The natural bubble just expands to include those items. So, this is why I say you can't know the unknowable, because as soon as you know it, then it becomes part of science, it becomes part of the natural phenomenon. And the reason why this is important, is because you have people who are lying on both sides. There are people who are telling you there is no God. You have people who are telling you there is a God. You have people telling you there is no heaven. You have other people who are saying there is a heaven. And you have all these people arguing, saying there are none. But here's the problem. None of them can show that. None of them can prove there's a God. And so the reason why I say this is important for things I would go back and change in my deconversion is I would humble myself and be careful that you don't get stuck in this nihilistic idea that there is no God, there is no heaven, none of this stuff is real, because then you become just like what you despised. Which caused the other issues, which caused you to take it too serious, which caused you to feel like everybody was looking at you and everybody was upset with you. But the fact was, it's not the case. I used to see religious symbolism everywhere. Everywhere. But now, I probably haven't even thought about it for 10 months, but actually maybe the last 2 years. I probably haven't even thought about it. And guys, believe it or not, this is a small part of your life. I know that's hard to grasp because right now, if you're like me, it's everything. It's everything to you. Everything you know is revolved around this identity you had, as in this religious perspective you have. And so it's everything to you, and the idea that it would be so meaningless at one point seems very foreign to you. You just don't believe it's possible. But it is. And I could tell you it's not worth ruining your life over. It's not. It's really not. It's going to feel like that, but it's not. So have fun, enjoy your life. Stop taking it so serious, and remember, none of us really know what awaits us at any given moment. None of us really know what the base reality of nature of reality is. What if when you die you just wake up and you just completed a job interview? Or what if when you die you wake up in your next digital existence? Who knows? None of us know. And that humility is one of the most powerful things that I think, if I could take away with anything, is humility. See, being an atheist isn't about being the smartest person. Being an atheist is a natural result of somebody who humbles their mind and realizes that they don't know everything, right? And that, in fact, the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know. And this is why I made my video on, which was titled, "They Want You to Be Called Agnostic." So if you haven't had a chance, take a look at that video, because there's reasoning why we use the words we do. There's reasoning why, okay? But I'll just leave you with this. Be humble, have fun. That's what I go back and change it to. And you know what? It's the best way to be, guys. So have fun. Realize that right now it feels like you're losing everything if you're going through a deconversion experience. But I can assure you, you're not. You are 99% of what you're experiencing is in your head. You see it all around you. You see religion all around you. You feel pressured everywhere you look. But there will come a time in your life where you'll go all of a sudden, a year, 2 years, 3 years, and you won't even think about religion. So hang in there, keep your chin up, and keep it positively atheist out there, everybody.